say, are we talking about a personal assistant? Or
No, not that type. That we'll
Okay.
get there.
Right, okay. It's a
Then
slippery
he would
slope.
the personal assistant would bring his wife on or girlfriend situation.
Mhm.
Then there would be a high-class prostitute, and then there would be a low-class prostitute. And then we would have a stepson come on board as well with his girlfriend. So that was our general...
High-class prostitute,
Wait.
a low-class one.
So a high-class would sit down and have dinners
Uh-huh.
and look beautiful and basically just have a talking relationship.
And did you know that, or you just assumed?
Yeah, we knew all that.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So
All right, morning all. Morning, TK.
Morning, Peter. How are you?
Very well, how are you?
Excellent.
Got a lovely guest we'd like to introduce you to this morning, Ashling Lorger.
good morning.
Hello.
you
Morning.
guys?
How are you?
Good,
How
thanks.
exciting.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. We're very happy to have you. So a lot of people would probably know you from this little TV show about some boats
Yes.
that you were on.
I was below deck.
Below Deck, season 8
That's correct.
out of 11, maybe 12 now.
Yeah, I think this is they're just about to launch the 12th season.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
My claim to fame is the fact that when I was watching season 1, nobody knew what it was.
Oh,
And
you-
now everybody's like, "Oh, do you watch Below Deck?" I'm like, "I'm so old."
oh, you're a
news."
hipster, basically,
Yeah.
is what you're saying. So
Started the trend.
You knew before it was cool. So, but it's one of those shows. I think from a TV perspective that kind of was a bit of a creeper, and then
It
just
was.
took off.
Yeah.
Like
It's
probably
massive,
around
isn't it?
season
Totally.
7, and then that's when it sort
So
of.
yeah, I think kind of like when COVID hit, like literally our season 8, it just completely took off like worldwide. I think because everyone had their spare time to
Yeah.
be able to sit down.
That's worked
and
out well. So.
Watch Netflix and Hey You and
Yeah.
you know,
It's a cool
binge
show,
the
but
whole
it's like-
seasons.
Yeah.
There's
For,
so
for
much-
those that haven't seen it, do you want to give us the premise of the show?
So basically, rundown is a day in the life of a yachty.
Mhm.
We're mic'd up 24/7, cameras on us, lights on us.
Yep. Let's go
Yeah.
back. What's a yachty for those that
so
don't know?
a yachty is basically, a crew member working on board a super yacht.
There you go.
Whether you're interior or exterior. For myself, I was a stewardess and I was working in the interior of the super yacht. So basically looking after anything from working alongside the chef right through to, I guess, flipping laundry and making beds.
Perfect.
Wow.
Making cocktails.
Tough job, right?
Oh, tough job.
Yeah.
We would work like 16 to 18 hours a day, 6 weeks straight on a charter back to back.
Wow.
Seasons were pretty brutal. You would lose up to 6 kilos in a
Wow.
season.
Jeez, I need
We'd
to go and do
walk-
about 8 seasons in a row.
We'd have our Apple Watches on, and us girls would always like compete. We're like, yeah, we've done 40,000 steps today.
Yeah,
like,
fuck.
wow.
Which is interesting because 40,000 steps on a boat. What's the ship size? Is there?
58 meters.
Right, okay.
So we've got 4 levels.
Yep.
Well, on the yacht that I was working on, 4 levels. So you're up and down stairs constantly. Your butt looks good, and so does your legs after that season.
And
You've got some super yacht friends now.
Yeah, I've got quite a few. But there was, I think you did work in boats beforehand. Is that
Yeah,
right?
so a few years ago, quite a long time ago now, I'm 29 this year. At 21, I upped and left Australia and went into the industry for a few years. I was based in Miami,
Yep.
in Florida.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Why?
Yeah.
What? Because you were a hairdresser before that,
Why? Okay, so I started hairdressing when I was 14.
right?
I got my first apprenticeship and I was qualified before the age of 18.
Mhm.
And I actually had a boyfriend at the time, so young and so little. But we broke up when I was 21 and I basically had it in me that I wanted to travel no matter what. And I've always been super driven and I heard about the industry and I basically booked flights, accommodation, and my courses for the yachting industry, and
Yep.
I left everything within a week and just dove into it, and I was there for
So you
2
did all the
years.
courses and stuff in the States, did you?
I did,
Wow.
yeah,
Without a
yeah.
job.
Without a job.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
What
'Cause
was
it's
the
quite-
reaction?
It's quite tough to get into, sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
It's actually really hard to get into the industry. I think you've got to also have the whole package, basically. And I think what drew people to me in the industry was I'd already had a qualification. I was a hairdresser. I'd worked in the hospitality industry for years since I was 12 and a half.
Oh, wow.
So I've always been driven. So that on a resume and being an Australian citizen as well, living and working in the States is such a big draw card.
Yeah.
Mm.
So actually 2 weeks into my course for yachting, I had already picked up a job.
Wow.
I had charter yachts basically want me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So I had jobs at my fingertips. I just had
Nice.
to go in and choose what I wanted. And basically on my list, I wanted a charter yacht. I wanted it to be about 60 meters long, and I wanted about 8 to 10 crew members, because I knew that I would make charter tips. I would travel to multiple locations with them, and that was my goal.
So you make some pretty good coin on there, right? Like these guys, the people who charter these yachts, they're a different planet
They're
of
the
wealth,
top,
right?
they're top 1% or 0.1%,
It's
probably more
serious
realistic.
What's it
money.
cost to hire a yacht for a week? Would most people charter it for a week or 3 days or 4 days?
Most people charter like 7 to 10 days, roughly.
right.
And with that, for a weekend charter on board a super yacht from, say, Friday 12 p.m. to Sunday 12 p.m., you're looking at like $290,000 US. And that's just the charter price. You add on your alcohol, you
Maybe
add
next
on
week.
your
I've got something
fuel
on this week.
consumption. It is a very, very
So,
expensive.
but
Hang
that's
on,
all
wait. But
inclusive.
sorry, what's on top of that? Did you say fuel?
Yeah, so cost of fuel. So
It's not included in the
no,
290.
no. So that's just literally a super yacht docked at the dock, and you can come on board. But if you want to travel from A to B, or just like float around, say for example, when I was in Miami, if you want to float around Miami canals, or like just go out to the open beaches,
Yeah, it'll be plus.
it's extra. And same with alcohol, any other extras.
Does anyone just sit at the dock and go, that's it, that's all
Well,
I can't afford the
we can
fuel?
just go to party.
If you watch the show,
Bloody hell.
Peter,
Yes.
you'd realise that if the weather turns to custard, you're stuck at the dock, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And I'd be like, I've said to Melissa so many times, if I chartered that boat and paid that much money and you wouldn't be able to sail it, there'd be a war. You'd want front row tickets to that show.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
You're much better off. I worked on cruise ships, and it's like when the weather goes bad, you don't want to be
It's
out
bad.
It's bad
not
for
pretty.
everyone.
there.
Yeah,
You think about the money,
And
but
'cause
once
it's your
you're out there,
fault.
you'd do anything to get back.
It's I imagine that the guests, or was that what we call them? Guests?
Yeah, charter guests.
Charter guests.
Yeah.
Would be blaming everyone else for
Yeah,
the weather as well. It's
pretty
like,
easy
you
to get along
ruined
with
my
too.
holiday.
100%. But you know what you do with them when we do have really bad weather?
Get them hammered.
Alcohol.
Yeah.
Everybody
Get 'em
shots.
hammered.
If in doubt, add booze. What could possibly go wrong with adding
Exactly
booze to a
right.
situation where there's already some kind of conflict?
Hey, all I can say is what happens on a super yacht stays on
Oh,
a super
yeah.
yacht.
And which leads me into
So you're in a podcast with
Well,
two
no,
friends.
well, I imagine that you have signed some pretty significant NDAs in your time.
Oh, yeah.
And one of my questions is regarding that, because I've got someone I know who has in a similar sort of situation and can sort of tell you bits and pieces of the stories, but there's certain things that just cannot be told because you've literally said, I will not tell a soul this
No. Yeah.
because it's probably not something that people want to know about an individual or a company or whatever it
Yeah.
may be.
Yeah.
What's the craziest thing you saw that you can talk about? And I mean, like, there's no holes barred. Like,
Okay.
you can go to
So
town
I
here.
have been out of the
You
industry.
might have to separate that between guests and staff.
I know. I mean, okay. Let's keep it clean. So we'll talk about guests.
Okay,
So-
let's talk.
I
Let's
feel like
let's
the
talk about guests.
yeah.
Well, technically, it was my boss at the time.
Okay.
So it was the owner of the super yacht that I worked on when I was living in America. So it's been over 10 years, I guess.
Yep.
Well, not 10 years. It's been over like 6-7 years now since I've left the industry.
yeah.
So, are we allowed to talk about drugs
Yeah.
and stuff like that?
We'll find
No
out.
whole bars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
Maybe don't. I mean, I refuse to answer on the grounds that I may incriminate myself. Could be one of the things we have to say. But yeah, maybe we use allegedly across everything from here on in. So
Okay.
no, go for it. Though.
Okay,
Yeah.
so basically, I got this contract with this super yacht, and I was with them for 12 months.
Mhm.
And it was an older gentleman that owned the super yacht and that would come on board time to time. So our general, like, I guess, charter guest scenario who would come on board with the owner. So we'd have the owner. He was about 75 years of age. Then we'd have his, like, personal assistant. He was a male, and then he'd
I
bring
was going to
his
say, are we talking about a personal assistant? Or
no, not that type. That we'll
Okay.
get there.
Right, okay.
Then
It's a slippery
he would
slope.
the personal assistant would bring his wife on or girlfriend situation.
Mhm.
Then there would be a high class prostitute, and then there would be a low class prostitute. And then we would have a stepson come on board as well with his girlfriend. So that was our general.
High class prostitute,
Wait.
a low class one.
So a high class would sit down and have dinners
Uh-huh.
and look beautiful and basically just have a talking relationship.
And did you know that, or you just assumed?
Yeah, we knew all that.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So a high class would have their own separate room, to the owner. So she
What, the low
she
classes
could-
in the dinghy out the back? What? It's just,
she's
just,
out-
just
she's
in,
at
the
the
in the
end-
tender,
end
just
of
being
the
pulled.
room.
I've got so many
my
questions
God.
already. Yeah, okay.
And then we would have, the low class would just be either with the gentleman, the owner of the yacht. So we'd have that kind of scenario. And of course, you'd imagine there's so many mixed groups of people, and we would have lots of parties and so forth, and everything is basically laid out on platters.
Quite literally.
Literally.
Stainless steel platters.
Yeah, so,
Just been warmed up.
So
Yeah.
getting back to your question, things that we've seen and stuff that I should have signed,
Yeah.
not to actually expose this.
Yeah.
So I would go in and clean the
Oh,
owner's
God.
bathroom. So because it's like basically 7-star,
Hmm.
I would go into his bathroom and I'd lift up, he'd have a moisturizer bottle, a deodorant can, and then there'd be like soap wash and moisturizer for his hands. I would lift up his moisturizer bottle, his personal one, and there would be like a pile high of cocaine
Mhm.
just chilling there.
Mhm.
And then you'd go to the deodorant can and you're like, oh, put that back down. Can't wipe that surface, can I, after
Oh
the
my
bathroom?
God.
And then you'd always know on the left-hand side of his bathroom, second drawer from the bottom, you'd open that up. There'd be a little gold dagger and a slab of white stuff. Let's put it like that.
Wow.
All the time, 24/7. That man,
And this is a
I don't even-
75-year-old.
this is a 75-year-old. Yep. Pretty
I have some regrets
amazing.
about asking that question now, but I mean that's again, having some friends that have worked in the industry, it is very, very common. I think at that end, right? It's just like
Yeah.
when people like they work hard, they can afford these things and they play hard. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, no judgment here whatsoever.
No.
But I think the challenge with that as well, and again, some of the stories that I've heard is it can go pear-shaped pretty quickly,
Absolutely.
and that's when if you're in the middle of the ocean and something goes down and you've got a kilo of cocaine next to you and someone's not
Oh,
well,
yeah.
it's not great.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah.
Definitely not. No way. No.
Did you ever have like Coast Guard or anything come on board?
All the time, yeah. So you always have people come in and check on you. So say, for example, we would do a lot of trips from Miami through to Bahamas and back, and Mexico and all around that area. So every time that you would leave and come back, you would always have the
You'd be
Coast Guards
boarded,
come
yeah.
in and they stamp you back
Yeah.
in. Yeah.
Because we had a staff member that got busted with a whole bunch of cocaine when we were in Nassau
Oh, yeah.
in the Bahamas, and
Super common.
he was a staff member, and all the staff would line up to get their visas stamped. And our visas was called an I-95, was just a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
And as we were like literally 10 metres from the getting off the boat, Coast Guard came on board with drug dogs, and he was literally 4 people in front of me. Put your hands up against the wall. The dogs
Oh
were going
my
mental.
God.
He had it all on him.
On
Yeah, right.
him?
Yeah,
What are we talking about? Like
That
a
was
lot?
silly?
a lot,
Oh, okay.
a lot.
Or did he just think he was going to smuggle it
I
back
don't
in?
know what he was thinking, and we were all like,
I
"What's going
imagine
on
he
here?"
probably wasn't, and that's the whole point.
And there was all these rumours that now he was going to go to jail in the Bahamas, but I'm not sure how that works
I
because
can't imagine that'd be a fun place.
we were
God, no.
sailing under the international ports of call,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so it was like I don't know. Do you go to jail where the boat
Where the
was
boat stopped.
registered, or I don't know, but he's probably still in the
I
big
would say
house.
you probably go where the boat's registered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would imagine
definitely.
if you commit the offence in the country, that's where you're going to jail.
Mate. And
Anyway,
it's
but-
funny, the Bahamas are, man, I'm not telling you anything, Ashling, but you got the pretty shiny, sort of beautiful side, and then there's the reality of it where it's
There's
it's
not
a-
much.
it's a savage place.
Yeah.
Good segue. Reality. So, having again friends in the TV industry that work in, and I'm going to use the air quotes here for reality TV.
Yeah.
So, and there's been a lot of talk about different shows and how real are they? And I suppose that's the question that I wanted to ask you, having done it before. On real boats and real people and real crew and,
Yeah.
and everything else, and then doing it again with TV crew around you. How different was that from the reality of what life on a boat is?
For me and what I've experienced, it's 100% legit.
Really?
What you see is what you get in the industry. If not, I would probably say you would probably get more like being in the industry because you're actually living and breathing with these people and working with these people 24/7 for longer periods
Yeah,
of
for
time.
months and months.
Whereas us, we're thrown in the deep end. There's a mix of alcohol. There's a mix of, working 18 hours a day, and then you're in a short period of time. And
Yeah.
you know that you are on set for to produce a show, so they want to cause a little bit of
Of
drama.
course, yeah,
so
absolutely.
there is people that they have picked, the producers, where they go, oh, Tony, we'll go to Tony and we'll make him, come to Ashling and ask her a question,
Yeah.
or like kind of fire up a conversation
Yeah.
kind of thing. But for me, I've been so stubborn my
Right.
whole life, and so like driven my own way. When I had producers come and ask me to do things, and I'm like, yeah, okay, no, walk away, because I didn't want to put myself into jeopardy and like make myself look stupid, basically.
Yeah.
And what about the people going on the boat when they would book their charter? Clearly, they knew that they were booking to be on a TV show.
Oh
too,
yeah,
right?
so they sign a waiver, they sign paperwork.
And are they paying more for that or less?
Less. So from what I've heard, they pay around $90,000 for the 2 days that they're on board, and then all the other expenses are covered.
I couldn't think of anything worse.
Well, yeah.
Trying to go on a holiday and having
Let's take the kids for the weekend, go on and boat. That'd be great. Why don't we take a film crew with us? No offense.
Well,
Corey,
a lot
but
of
no.
absolutely not. I personally wouldn't. But a lot of these people go on board to kind of promote their own business.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Is like, there's obviously, and some of those, and I'll be honest, I haven't watched a lot of the show,
That's okay,
but
that's okay.
I got your back, Pete.
Thanks, mate. Yeah.
Tony's all over it.
I don't know how I feel about that either. But one of the things I suppose is that some of the guests that I've seen, you're like, that's almost not a real person. It's like caricatures of human beings that are.
Oh, there's some fuckheads on that
Right,
show.
of course, and that's just real life. There's fuckheads
Yeah.
everywhere.
But
Really, if we're
they're-
going to talk about it, but
they're so legit though.
but that's the thing. It's
They're-
like
they're
that's like that's who they are,
They're
and it's like
weird.
they want to be on that show, and they want that 15 minutes, I suppose, as well. And there's not a lot of times when you can go, here's 90 grand, I'm going to be on an international television
Yeah.
show. I think there's some value there, and particularly if it is someone that's trying to do something. I kind of get it as well.
Yeah, totally.
But does it take away from the reality when all they want is people to be looking at them and talking about them? But then you see it just go so pear-shaped because the producers, they want storylines.
Yeah.
They 100%
Right,
want
and so like you
storylines.
said, they're gonna say, oh, you should ask them about that time that they did this, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden they're like, what do you mean, fuck you? And then it's on. And it's just like, so it's kind of that idea of it's not scripted, obviously, but
No,
it's there's that element of just those little seeds that get planted that take you in
Absolutely.
a certain way. I have no idea why an actual human being would want to put themselves in that situation. not on the crew side, but on the guest
On the
side.
guest
It's
side,
like you said, it's like Christ. And
If it was free, you could even argue the point that it might be worth it, but you're still going to pay $100,000.
but you see these things, they get on there, and again, you mentioned alcohol as well, and I think that's one of the things where, and you see in a lot of reality TV shows, they do like throwing the booze around.
Yeah.
I mean, even
Oh,
the old days of Big Brother and stuff like that, you'd see those nights where they get on the piss and shit would go down,
Well,
and it's like it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's like Married at First Sight.
Yeah.
You know that they don't film just like for 1 or 2 hours having their dinners.
No.
Do you know that they start sometimes at like 12 o'clock lunchtime and don't end until 3 a.m. the next morning?
And I guarantee the best part of it is from 2:57 to 3 a.m. It's like those
totally.
last 3 minutes, they're like, fucking got it, let's go.
Yep, let's go, wrap it up.
What did Colin say last week? 4 o'clock in the morning, they
Yeah.
finished filming My Kitchen Rules.
Yeah.
4 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, that's wild.
And they're not starting at 8 p.m. Like
No.
it's a
Yeah,
full
all
day,
day.
and that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like then it's the crew, that have got to be there as well, and that's the stuff where it's like those. And I know that again, friends that have been on these shows and worked on these shows, often the crew, as in the film crew,
Yeah.
become really good mates with the actual crew.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
totally. Like even like down a camera, like we'd be there like in the galley, like with the chef Rachel that was on my season.
She's
then-
as crazy as what she makes out as
She's
Joe.
a psychopath.
Oh,
She's nuts.
It's like a path.
Like a path.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got
like,
Okay, don't
Okay.
sugarcoat that. Hey, Rachel, how you doing?
Just YouTube
Hey,
a couple of
Rachel.
shorts.
love you, not.
Oh, not a fan?
She's quite
Not a fan?
angry,
No,
right?
she turned on me for some
Oh,
reason.
did she?
The whole season, I was basically by her side. So my sister's actually a qualified chef, and always been in the kitchen. I love food. I love to help out, all that kind of stuff. And I basically took on the role to help her on the side throughout the whole season. I'd help her from shucking oysters to chopping off lobster heads to doing
Everything.
so much for her. And then once the season ended and went to air, she made up all these stories about me that weren't even true. She'd call me even after the season, like being like, I love you, I miss you, we should catch up, come to Europe, come hang out, all this kind of stuff. Made her such an awesome friendship with her, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden the show aired and boom,
She
hated my guts.
Really?
Yeah, there's this element of axe murderer about her.
Literally.
For sure. like that.
We're
I don't
aware
wanna be
this
home alone with you.
This is being recorded.
No, she-
Everyone's aware of this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
cool.
that's fine.
We're
it
cool
could
with it.
take you
Okay.
about 2 minutes to
Oh,
realise.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She basically will be best friend, and then within a minute, bang, hates you.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, she's.
I'm like, oh,
Sounds
okay.
great. Sounds like a lot of chefs. Oh, no, actually. No offense.
It's not fair, Corey.
He's not jumping it at all.
But it's a the funny bit about chefs on charter boats, I guess, is that if they pack up and quit, that's a mid charter.
Oh, it's frightening.
Like,
It happens. Or I've actually had a friend of mine that was also on Below Deck. He was on Below Deck sail yacht, Marcus Spaziani, a guy from Venezuela.
Oh, yeah.
He lives in the States,
Yep.
but he's originally from Venezuela. I've worked with him. Such a great guy. We've been on charter before, and he has actually basically packed up, got the shits, and left. And
So what
we've
happens
had-
there?
What does that look like? What in that situation? What does everyone do?
temp chef.
Well,
Chef's on the run.
chef's out. Basically, the captain has to go and rally up that situation and work that out.
Yep.
And then, obviously
Right.
come to a conclusion and try and get him back on board and start cooking again.
Because there's another below deck chef kicking around the coast, or was English fella.
Oh.
What's his name? Trying to tip my tongue. He's been into the restaurants before. He left mid charter.
I don't know who
He
that is.
resigned
What on the show?
on
or-
the show.
Oh, cool.
I think it was even Captain Lee. He said gave him his resignation,
Yeah.
and Captain Lee said, "I think that's for the best. So after this charter, that'll
He
be your
time
last
to
charter."
move
And he
on.
said,
No.
"No, get me off the fucking boat now." Packed his knives up and
Out
mid charter. no, they.
Man
Yeah,
overboard.
exactly.
I'm
Do they
watching the show
call
with
it
my
overboard
mouth
if they
open
don't want
going, now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know, like it's people paying $100,000 a week. You've got to,
Yeah.
you've got
You've got to
responsibilities,
cough
you
up.
know.
But you've also got you've got backup. You've always got like a list of chefs
And like you
to
said,
call on.
correct me if I'm wrong, but again, in that crew mix, and we're talking probably not about the show now,
You're gonna
but
find his name.
in the when you're actually working in yachts,
Yeah.
is that a lot of the crew can do lots of things. Like you said, you could be doing, like housekeeping stuff. You
Yeah.
could be cooking, and so it's like someone's going to be able to know how to cook an egg. So like
Oh,
for a day,
100%.
it's like we'll probably be able to survive a day or so.
Oh, for
but
sure.
yeah, okay, it's like kitchens, I suppose, and we've all worked in restaurants. Well, I certainly have, where people have walked out in the middle of service, and you're like, "What do we do here?" And someone just jumps in, and you just get it done.
You do. You just make do.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you will always kind of report back to your guests anyway, just to
Yeah.
say, hey, this is our scenario.
So you tell them,
You do, 100%. You have to be
Right.
open with them because let's face it, they're expecting like 5-star.
and they're getting a cheese
service or
toasty all of a
7
sudden.
Yeah, exactly, with a little
Just
sprinkle
can't
of
imagine.
like,
We actually ran out of bread, so here's some cheese.
yeah.
Oh, nightmare.
Let's talk pre going over to the States. So
Yeah.
you said 12 and a half.
Yes. Completely illegal.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I was in a fish and chip shop when I was 12,
Oh, yeah.
and there's part of me that's really thankful for that as well,
Same.
though. So because I got to see a lot of things a lot of people didn't, and also it was a time. I mean, I'm 180 years old, so it was a very different time now to what it is then. What were you doing at 12? I mean, if you can, again, maybe there's an NDA here, you can't say where you were working, but what were you doing? What were you?
Oh,
You said
so-
hospo.
Working
So
at Barado is probably fishing, washing dishes.
was a floor
No.
manager at Barado.
I was 12 and a half. I wanted to buy an iPhone.
Right.
And basically, mum and dad said to me, "Well, we can't afford an iPhone because I think at the time they were like $800 or $900."
Yep.
So, right or wrong, I got up and I went and approached this lady at a gelato shop that just opened up in Noosaville. It's called Ammo Gelato. And I basically said to her, "Do you have any positions going for casual for over Christmas?" And she remembers me being this little blonde head thing approaching her asking for a job. And she asked me, "How old are you?" And I said, "I'm 12 and a half. She goes, "Oh, you have to be 13 and 9 months to legally work for us." And she said, "Well, actually, do you think you could get your mum to come up?" And they signed a waiver. And I remember getting the call being like, "Hey, it's Stacey from
Yep.
Ammo Gelato. Would you like a job for Christmas?" And basically got the job.
And did you get the iPhone?
Scooped. Yeah, I got the iPhone too.
Great.
So
How
I
good.
set,
That's a
I set
great
my
story.
goals. I would work
Well
like
done.
2 shifts a week,
Yep.
scooping gelato
Getting
and wiping tables.
$8 an hour or
I think
something.
so, yeah.
$5 an hour cash
I
in.
actually-
I was $4.12.
Do you know what? I think it was $8.60.
Oh,
I was doing all right. I was
that's the
pretty
difference
stoked.
in time. That's
An
awesome. And then-
iPhone well earned. That
yeah,
is.
exactly. But you would have appreciated that iPhone as well.
Oh my
That's the
god,
thing.
yeah. And also too, I think that's created who I am today. Like my work ethic, everything.
There's nothing like setting a goal and then just chopping away at it, and then when you get it,
Yeah. I
that's
was
a sweet
much
taste.
better at that when I was younger.
Not so much now.
now you-
No, horrendous now.
Shocking.
Oh my god! Now it's yeah. Anyway, but one of the things that I saved up
Just a
for.
cranky
Should I
old
tell
man
this
thing.
story? Yes. I wanted a pair of docks.
Yep.
I wanted a pair of 8-hole docks that were blue.
Nice.
They were blue 8-hole Doc Martens, and
What
they
for?
were fuck knows
Probably
to
go
wear,
out.
just to wear.
Probably
I was
to
like
impress the
15.
girl.
red braces.
Yeah, it's not
Roll
far
your
off
jeans
that.
up.
Don't. It's not. No, it's not romper stomper. I still have those shoes.
No
Do you?
way.
Yeah, I still have them. I don't wear them anymore, but I still have them tucked away in
that's
the back
cool.
of the cupboard. I love those shoes. I just can't throw them out because I
What a
know
memory. You wouldn't. I wouldn't.
I know what I had to do to work, like to get those.
Yeah.
Because they were like back then they were probably $300,
Yeah.
which is
and
what the
three-
equivalent
Most
of
expensive
$1
shoe in
million
the world.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$300 back then would have been a lot of money.
It
too.
was. I mean, it still is, but it was then. That's the thing. And
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
maybe yes,
How cool did you feel when you put those shoes on?
I felt amazing.
I bet you
I
found
looked like a
$1 million
dickhead.
Yeah.
Because I'm this 15-year-old idiot walking around with blue
Blue
docks
docks.
on. Everyone's like,
What
is this
shade of
mate?"
blue are they?
Oh, they're blue,
Like
like proper
electric.
bright blue.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Gotta
Yeah.
wear it.
They're not patent though. They're like soft leather. But anyway,
So like a matte leather.
yeah.
Nice. Oh well, at least you had some sort of.
I'll bring them in.
style
I'll,
to you.
I'll wear them one episode just for fun. No one can see them. And so, ice cream shop. What's next? Before the hairdressing
Okay.
or whilst the hairdressing, was there more hospitality experience in there?
So then, I worked for the same couple for years
Yep.
on end, but I leveled up. So I went from wiping tables, scooping gelato, to then becoming a barista, to then basically a lead barista, and then I ended up managing for them.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that was all in the same place.
Yeah, it was all in the same
That's
place.
good, cool.
They actually ended up opening up a coffee shop right on the river, and then they had the gelato shop opposite. So then I progressed to both
Right.
and helping them out managing both. Yeah.
Cool.
It's interesting that you say that and then you look at what you did sort of on yachts, and it's that same sort of idea. I mean, I think people, particularly when we look at it from a TV perspective, they forget that it's just hospitality.
Yeah.
It's all hospitality.
is.
And the hairdressing thing, I think, is hospitality as well.
100%.
I-
And psychology.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
And
Being a
I,
bartender.
I firmly believe that
Yeah.
the two industries that need to study either social work, psychology, sociology, or counselling are bartenders and hairdressers.
Oh, yes. 100%
Because
can back that up.
That's, and I've, certainly bartending, I've been in bars where you sit there and you got that one person that comes in and just unloads and you're like,
Whoa.
wasn't expecting that.
Can I get you another drink?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. But then again, it's like, then it just escalates. And so by the end of it, you've got this guy just sobbing about his marriage
Oh,
in front of you. And you're like, I can pour beer. I can definitely make you a martini, but I can't fix whatever the fuck is going on in your life. No, I'm
Take a
sorry.
pair of glasses.
Yeah, it's
Needs
just,
old mate's low end hooker to come in and give him some fun.
that is not a solution. But there is that idea of that that hospitality and that counselling sort of stuff. Did you see much of that on boats as well, where
Oh,
people would come to you like at
huge.
D&M's at 3 in the
Yes.
morning? Or
No, literally. I had a girl come on board and she was 21. She'd come from Hungary over in Europe. And by about day 4 of being on board, I had finished up early this day. I was lucky enough to finish up early, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
just to confirm, is she crew or guest?
She was guest.
Guest, okay.
Yep. And basically she approached me and said, help, get me off this boat.
Oh,
I can't be on here any longer. So I said, I'm going for a walk and a run because I finished work for the day, but I'll direct you to my chief stewardess and you can go from there. She's like, no, I don't want to talk to her either. Because she wanted to talk to me. We were the same age. We were both 21.
Right.
And she basically said, can I come with you for the afternoon? I said, yep, let's go for a walk. We walked to the beach and back. She bawled her eyes out. When we got to the beach, she's like, I can't do this. I need to go now. So we went back to
Who
the
was she
yacht.
on the boat with? Her family or boyfriend or?
She was a
Oh.
high class
oh,
girl.
I was going to say she was paid to be there, right? Oh, fuck,
Yeah,
that's
she'd get paid $5,000 a day.
yeah,
US dollars.
but I suppose that's fine
So she
until
upped and
until you
left.
don't want to be there, and
Yeah.
then it's not fine. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
it's
It's
a dark place.
Yeah.
The ocean.
So yes, I have dealt with lots of emotions across all my industries.
Yeah.
People crying, people's, relationships.
Did she get off the boat?
health.
But?
She left the boat, yeah. We flew her back home, yeah.
good. That's good. That's the correct thing to do.
What
I
about
think
the
it's
what
awesome.
about the mobster who hired her on the boat? Was he annoyed?
We snuck her off the boat, so he actually did not know that she left until like He
You got to
woke
write
up
a
the
book.
next day.
There's got to be a book in here somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
There's probably
Trials and
100 books, that's the
tribulations of
thing.
Yeah, totally.
And that's the thing. I mean, again, having I said, a couple of mates that they tell you stories, and you're like, that can't be real. Like that's it's movie shit, but like bad movie shit. It's like that's
I
not
literally
something-
could write a book. Like even like friends that are yachties, like the experiences and stories that we all share. Like I remember this one time my friend was working on a yacht for a Russian company, and she said that every time that she would go and see someone, she couldn't look them in the eye. She had to have her hands behind her back, and she'd say, "Yes, sir. Morning, sir." She could not even look at the person.
It's like TK in the restaurants.
I
exactly
think they
the same.
got.
Jesus, Peter.
Although you could probably up him. I'm pretty sure they got paid like an extra $1,000 or $2,000 on top of their monthly wage.
for not
For
seeing, not looking at them.
Yep.
But
I couldn't hold my tongue. There's no way I could last on those
The
boats.
hard
Neither
part-
can I.
Not now. Maybe 20 years ago.
Can you imagine but being out in the middle of the Med or the Caribbean and something goes pear-shaped? It's a fucking dangerous place to be, right?
Yeah, totally.
Extremely dangerous.
Particularly when people are there with lots of money that can do things. I mean, we've all seen. Money solves a lot of problems.
Money solves everything.
It also
let me tell you
it
that.
also creates a lot of problems.
So when I was working for Disney, right, big family, massive
Heard of them,
company,
yep.
yeah. So I'm a white Aussie guy, come on board in a really senior position, and I was only young as well. And there was a lot of West Indian chefs on board that had been working on there for 10 years, and had slowly worked their way up. And I come in over the top, never worked on a boat or a cruise ship ever, and they seen me as I was taking money out of their pocket. And I remember it was like the second or third night I was on the boat. They said to me, "We need to stock take the freezer," and the freezer was at the bottom of the cruise ship. And I went down there, and there was no freezer.
Oh.
And there was 3 or 4 of them down there, and they said, "You know how many people go missing at sea?" And I'm like, it took me a minute to
Work out.
digest what was going on.
Yeah.
And they were threatening me and telling me how I've taken their job.
So
And
what do you do there? Well, like, how do you deal with that?
there was
You don't have to
reasonably.
Money.
No, it was
Allegedly, how
yeah.
would you deal with that?
there was a altercation,
Right.
but we sorted it out. And my father always told me in a really bad situation, hit the guy with the biggest mouth first, and that got me out of trouble in that scenario.
Okay.
But when somebody says something and it's that it's the truth.
Yeah.
That was all my blood went cold, and I'm like, this is a really dangerous situation to be
Like
in.
make it or break it moment kind of thing.
Yeah, and the West Indian guys on the boat, they were really, really tight.
Yeah.
And by the time I'd finished my contract, we were all tight, and we had a great relationship. And I still, through social media, reach out to them. But I'll remember that day like yesterday, and I thought, get out of here.
Yeah.
That flight or fight
Yeah.
mentality was horrible. And Eliza, she worked on the super yachts as well, from Rice Boy, and I remember having a convo with her as well, and she goes, if you get the wrong guest or the wrong super yacht owner and you're out at sea and shit's going down and you're uncomfortable, you're such a long way from anywhere.
And very, very lonely, that's
Yeah.
the thing. And I think it's probably changed now because there is SAT,
Yeah.
so you've got access to the internet and that kind of things. But that wasn't always the case.
So
So it's like,
sometimes only just though. Like there's
Right.
moments there where I'd have no internet for hours.
Yeah, right.
And even if I wanted to send a message to mum, they'd be like, you'd be struggling to
Yeah.
get through.
what's interesting, it's like the world that we live in. It's like, oh my God, I didn't have internet for 3 hours. It's like the end of
I
the
know.
world, right?
I
But it could
know.
be in the wrong situation. That could be a real problem.
It could be a real problem.
I was talking to someone last week when I sort of mentioned that we were going to have you on, and she was saying that because we were talking about the money and there's lots of positives there, and
yeah.
the tips were huge. And we'll come back to that in a
Yeah.
second. But and I still, if you're trying to save money, it can be good. And she's like,
Oh,
if
yeah.
we didn't have the internet, because she'd just get on there and just go internet shopping. And
Yeah.
she'd be like, she'd get back to port, and there'd be like 15 packages sort of waiting there. It's like I just
Guilty.
spent my entire right. I think again, very different world. Let's talk about money just for a second, and it's just sort of a gross conversation. But let's talk about the tips, because I mean, in
Yeah.
the show, there's the big fat envelope that
Oh,
comes
yeah.
out at the end, and it's 25 or 30
Yeah.
or 40 or 50. What's the biggest tip you've seen for a full crew?
For a full crew, I think it's probably about $40,000 to $50,000
US dollars.
US dollars.
And so that gets split between the crew.
Actually, no, it must have been more because one time I got $10,000 US dollars. So there's 9 crews. So
Personally?
maybe it was maybe 90,000. Yeah, personally.
And so it was just split down the middle. Everyone just gets the
Everyone's
same.
equal parts. Yeah.
Wow. Okay,
On
that's
some
good.
yachts, it can be like divided by like scale.
Yeah.
Does the skipper get it as well, the captain?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's typical.
Captain makes bulk money. Oh my god, the money that they make.
But responsibility, though. I mean, that's the thing. I mean,
Huge.
you know, I think for me, I was like, I think the episode I was watching last night, I think was the first episode where you came on.
Yeah.
And he's just like parking this thing, docking.
Yeah.
And it's like, that could go so bad
You've got
so
like
quickly.
26 million US
Right.
dollars right at your little gear stick.
Yeah,
that you
exactly
have.
right. One little thing
Yeah.
the wrong way.
Just lives, right?
That's the other
And
thing.
the ocean's so unforgiving.
Yeah.
You know, did you ever know a restaurant on the Sunshine Coast at Alexandria Headlands called Primo Secondo? It's where
definitely
the
heard of
Mexican
that.
restaurant was. Robbie, his name is. He's tossing pizzas up in Noosa at the moment. But
Okay.
him and his wife went on boats. So he was a chef and she was a stewardess. And he worked his way up, got all of his tickets over a 10 or 15 year period. And he became a captain
Yeah,
on
wow.
super yachts. He would do, don't quote me this, but 3 or 4 months in the Mediterranean or the Caribbean. And then he'd finish. He'd sailed all the way back to New Zealand. He'd do some time in New Zealand,
Yeah.
and he lived a fantastic life. I was
Yeah.
trying to get Michael, my son, to go on the
Get
boat
into
with
that,
him,
yeah.
and he was like, oh, "Get him to ring me,
Yeah.
but he never.
It
did.
is a certain lifestyle. I know my friend Liz, who was in the US, she was based in Oregon forever, and as she's a chef, and she loved it for a long period of time,
Yeah.
and then she just didn't love it.
Yeah,
you know, there's
totally.
that thing. There's almost like a switch that gets flicked at one, and whether that's a moment that happens or a particular. And she worked on both, on charter and owned
Right,
yachts
yeah.
as well, and they were big ships, like
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, 100-meter plus kind of
Massive.
stuff. Like
Would you
know,
go back to back? Like, how long would be a season?
So season's generally like 3 months.
Yep.
But you can have like a charter season. Like you might. It depends on how many charters you get booked out. So generally, the biggest I had was like 6 weeks back to back. So every week there was a new charter, but you'd have literally less than 24-hour turnaround. So your guests would leave, say, Monday morning, 12 o'clock. You would have guests arriving 3 p.m.
And
So
then
the
after that section, would you go and work on another boat?
No, you
Somewhere?
would stay on the same yacht. You'd
Yep.
come back and you'd do maintenance. So
Okay,
basically
right.
kind of refreshing the yacht.
clean
completely.
everything,
Like
yeah,
super
gut
deep
everything,
clean,
yeah.
like right down to like the tiny surfaces. Like
Yeah.
everything had to be pristine.
pristine, yeah.
Yeah.
And did you ever have public health or anything come on board the boats or anything like that?
No.
Oh,
No.
anything like that, far out. So on
Like
the
you-
cruise ships, that was the worst bit.
Like you've got seafarers and like you have to like write down how many hours you do, but because of the industry, it's like basically, like I said, what happens on a yacht stays on a yacht.
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't work the legal requirements. We'd work completely over. I was doing 120 hours a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I was alive.
And that's
Same on the
and that's the
ships.
thing, you just do, you know. It's
You
like
do
we've all done that
Yeah.
as well. It's just like, and people outside of the industry go, well, you can't. That's illegal. You can't do that. And you're like, yeah, but
it just
you
happens.
just did. You know,
And it's-
I can because I just did.
Yeah.
You know, and
Disney pays you for every second you work. You thumbed on, thumbed off.
Yeah.
and You work
Totally.
200 hours. It's like
you got paid for
ka-ching.
it. Yeah, right.
you're
I don't,
all-
that's not normal though. I wouldn't imagine. And certainly from a yachting industry. I mean, even restaurants really.
Yeah.
Not necessarily now. That's a different world. But you know, you and I have certainly worked in restaurants where you could do 100
Whole
hours a
life.
week and you get the same amount of money. Doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
7.6
But then
hours of pay.
But then it's like, well, hang on, whose fault is that?
Mm.
You know, and certainly as I'm going to say, I'm not going to say mature, but as I get older, I certainly realised that was my fault. I let
Yeah.
that happen as well,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the changes in the industry is people are just going, no, actually, that's not okay.
It's you never get paid a huge amount of money to do an easy job, but
No.
because anybody who wants to, and I've got several people jobs on cruise ships and super yachts. You know, Paddy, Corey, Paddy. He got a job on a super yacht. I think he's been 2 years. He was a chef at Rice Boy,
Yeah.
and I wrote him a CV. He's a bit of a lost soul, but he didn't really know what he wanted to do. He's a really good cook, and. Then he got a text. I got a text message from him saying this captain's going to give you a call, and sure enough, this American guy says, "Oh, I'm a captain of motor yacht, blah blah blah." I had a 20-minute conversation with him, and then I googled the boat, and it's like, oh my god,
Yeah,
Go
this
for
thing
it.
is enormous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's 3 chefs on the boat.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so and he's still over there,
Yeah.
killing it. So
that's the thing. I think, like I said, people fall in love with it, and then, but there's almost a shelf life as well. It seems I don't know
Yeah.
what that is.
It's-
Whether it's like 8 years, 10 years max. Captain's probably a different story, but it seems like it's an industry that sort of churns and burns. You know, it's
Definitely.
like there's a
Yeah, for
certain
sure.
life point
Yeah.
where you're like, I can't do this anymore.
Well, there's another Noosa guy. He's got a Facebook, Instagram channel, Yacht Chef or something.
Yeah,
like
Yacht
that.
Chef. Yeah,
You know?
great guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Right.
Yep.
So he's been tied up with the guys from Suncoast Fresh.
Right.
He's done a podcast with them. It's super interesting
Yeah.
channel. Like,
Super successful too.
yeah, have a
Right.
look
Yeah.
at you have a look at the adventures this guy goes on, and
Yeah.
you know.
But I think that's the way you look at it, right? It's an
Cool.
adventure.
I think he's
Yeah.
also a videographer and photographer, hence why his content is like
Yeah,
impeccable.
like drone
It's amazing.
pictures, and
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
Corey's doing.
Yeah, I was going to say
It's
chef,
crazy.
videographer, photographer. That sounds familiar.
But I always say, people get lost with the whole super yacht Mediterranean. It is fucking hard work.
It's
Yeah.
freaking hard
Yeah.
work.
You-
Let me tell you that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Work
and-
hard, play hard. That's what they call the whole industry.
Yeah, and that attracts certain people as well.
It
I mean, that's
does.
hospitality in general, right?
Yeah.
You know, it attracts the rogues and the people
Totally.
that don't fit in
Yeah.
other places, and you know
Yeah.
that's a lot of places for, and with that as well comes challenges because
Absolutely.
you know certainly in hospitality, you know, the industry does attract people with mental health issues
Yeah.
because it sort of has a spot for them, I
Definitely.
suppose, and you know that then has its own challenges.
For sure.
And as an industry, we haven't been very good at it for a long time. I think we're probably getting better at dealing with that and helping people as much as possible. But then you throw that onto a confined area that is in the middle of the ocean
Super
with the
stressful,
same amount of
high
people,
pressure.
super stressful, and then throw some booze into it or some other
Yeah.
and that's the thing.
narcotics, and then all
escalate
just
pretty
like,
quickly.
holy shit.
Yeah.
The thing that gets me is the fact that you go through this massive charter, and everyone's so exhausted, and then as soon as the guests get off the boat, you go and blow yourselves up, and then
Yeah.
you got to do it all again,
That's-
start again, and
But in a way, like it sounds really terrible, but it's actually just, it's, like I said, a lot of people do it, but you're basically a functioning alcoholic,
Alcoholic, yeah.
really,
Mm.
which is quite sad to say,
Yeah,
but it's the
it's true.
truth.
That's the reality of
It
it.
is
That's
actually-
reality, yeah.
That is the real legit
What-
industry
what-
behind scenes of hospitality.
yeah,
And that's in general, I think,
Yeah.
really. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't even know what that means. They're just like, no, I just drink 3 bottles of wine every night. That's
remember
fine.
getting-
I can get up and do it again tomorrow.
I remember getting back to port at because we'd have to do a big clean for every time we'd sail a ship into the US waters. You run the risk of public health coming on board, and they
Yeah.
were so strict. So we would finish service about 10 and clean until 1, like manically clean. But then you'd be so exhausted after a 7-day cruise, and you're thinking, I've got to be up at 3 to do breakfast
To prep.
in case public health come on board, because I was a senior, and then somebody will go, you want to go to the bar and just have a beer?
Those
And
such
you
things.
go there, and the bar would be pumping because there'd be some staff that'd be leading
And
the boat.
Tony's rubber arm would twist
Well,
and
yeah,
say,
exactly.
all right, let's have 10
All right,
more."
exactly.
25-cent Coronas,
Tequila, you say,
50-cent Jack Daniels, no cash on the boat. It was just a crew card that they'd
Just
swipe.
swipe.
So you
So
walk
it's not
into
real money. It doesn't
you walk
exist.
into the bar, there'd be an Aussie DJ, and you go to the bar and you go, I'll shout at the bar. There'd be 200 people in there, and
$11.
it'd be like $14. And then the DJ go, Tony Kelly shouting the bar, and everyone like, yeah, and you'd be like, ah.
I'm a
I'm the
legend.
And then,
I'm
you,
the
and then,
man,
you,
yeah.
then you go like this, and you go, I've got to get up in an hour,
Yeah.
and
Perfect.
then you do it all again. So you start the next 7-day cruise. Fucked.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, absolutely.
And then
cooked.
that just pattern just sort of repeats
I
itself.
remember when I got home and my dad looked at me and he was like, "Are you sick?" I'm
like really sick.
yeah, like
Of
I
course.
just
Yeah.
was gaunt.
Yes.
I'd been working in
I mean-
the Caribbean and I was pale.
Yeah, but
'Cause
you're not
never had
sitting
a
on the
day
sun
off.
deck having
I
a
know.
margarita. It's like, so when you would finish a charter and you had day off, whatever, what's the first thing you do? Was there
Get me the hell off that yacht.
okay? But
I'm
then
out.
okay, you're off, and then what?
Off, we would either have a lunch planned, a brunch
With
in
the crew?
America. With the
Yeah.
crew was huge. So we'd always just go and obviously party
Yeah.
and have a really beautiful lunch or brunch and spend a shit
Which
ton
is
of
that's a
money,
9-hour
basically.
exercise normally. So
Yes.
yeah,
And then we'd go back the next day and go to work.
yeah. Wow.
Like I remember this one time, we jumped online, a few of us of the crew, and we were like, "Oh, there's a concert on in Miami. Let's go." And we're like, "Sweet, let's go." We ended up going to see, I think it was Jay-Z in like some arena. Went there, and then we couldn't get back home until like 4 o'clock in the morning. And then by the time I got into bed, it was like 6, and then I had to work at
And you-
7. My eyes, I had to like peel them open.
God, I'm having some serious PTSD because we've all done this, and it's like I just can't believe we actually survived this.
As an
stuff
old
as
guy
well.
now, I sit
Oh,
back and I
God.
go, it's 8 o'clock at night. I'm like, why am I so tired?
Hey, but you do it. I just
Yeah.
spent the whole Noosa Eat and Drink Festival this whole weekend drinking and eating, and I'm like, here today, 8 a.m. I'm
Yeah.
like, holy shit, pull your shit
Absolutely.
together, Ashling.
So where's the most beautiful place you've been? Like you've seen honestly, some amazing parts of the world.
Oh,
If you could snap your fingers and go, this is even the top 2, top 3, where would they be?
I would have to say number 1 would be Harbour Island in the Bahamas. That would be number 1, and then number 2, Cuba.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, gnarly place.
Yeah, right.
Very, very cool place
How
to
cool.
visit. Yeah.
Awesome. And what advice would you have? Because I have a raft of people that say, all I want to do is get on the super yachts. What's the best process to go about
To go about it,
Yeah.
I would say
From Australia?
from Australia, there's a few places down in Sydney that you can go and do all your courses. So basically do your STCW 10, which allows you to work on board super yachts, and then you have to get your ENG1, which is your medical test. So it's a full examination across your whole body. They're your 2, I guess, courses that you need to do, and then go ahead and sign up to some, I guess, super
So
yacht
like recruitment companies.
There's like
recruitment companies.
agencies, yeah.
Gotcha.
and go from there, and
Is
just be vigilant and just keep trying.
Is it something that you encourage young hospo people to go and do?
100%. Honestly,
I'm the same. Like I say, it's so hard, but it was so much fun. Like
Yeah.
I could never do it now, but it was such an amazing time.
And I think also too, for me, it's kind of molded me again from hairdressing and from the hospitality industry when I first started. It's molded me who I am today, and it's given me a whole lot more confidence.
I bet.
And I've seen parts of the world that people probably would never afford, or let alone never even have access to it. Yeah.
And what about another good question that I get asked a bit about cruise ships? Have you ever been on the boat where you thought it was going to sink, like weather-wise?
Yes. Oh my God, I have a story for you guys. So, funny enough, I said Harbour Island's probably one of my most favourite places that I've ever visited. It's got the pink sands and it's stunning. So we were sailing through this area to get to Harbour Island, and it's called the Devil's Backbone.
No. No.
No,
Go
I
around.
know. I didn't realize.
There's another way. I'm not going anywhere near something called Devil's Backbone.
Via the Panama Canal.
Absolutely not. Just through the Bermuda Triangle. Yeah, great. Let's line it up.
We used to go through the Bermuda Triangle frequently.
No.
It's crazy. So the hull of the super yacht that I was on, it was 58 meters. The hull was 9 foot deep. And this Devil's Backbone ranges with the tide from 5 foot to 35 feet. So as we were approaching this Devil's Backbone, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know it was called Devil's Backbone.
Probably a
Anyway, we
reason
get
for
this
that.
radio call through the captain, and he says, everyone needs to brace now. And as we were sailing through this, I could see all these little sail yachts and shipwrecks that were just like trashed up the side of this
Perfect.
Devil's Backbone. So we thought, oh God, holy shit. So he's like, yep, brace, either sit down or lay down and get on the floor and
So it wasn't a
just hold
storm.
yourself. No storm. It's just that the
tides are so massive.
The tides are just completely drained out. So basically, the hull was 9 foot. We only had like 1 to 2 feet underneath us. We were scraping at the bottom. And because of the tides coming in and out with the water, the whole yacht had like turned horizontal. And we were just going to shore, where all the other yachts were like just chilling. Crashed, basically.
Yeah. Awesome.
And being abandoned. We were going to be that.
Far out.
So there has been other larger yachts go through there and crash and have never made it. It's like in history.
There's a place up in the Kimberleys called the Horizontal Falls, I think it's called. Same sort of thing. There's this very small gap in between 2 cliff faces, and the tide's like 5 or 6 meters. And when the tide turns, it's like a raging waterfall running that way. And boats try and get in and get out, and it's like a roller coaster ride.
I just don't see the appeal. Like, just fucking park.
What does
Just
the guests do
more for a
when
minute.
that happens?
Well,
Is there
we
people on
never had
boat?
guests on board. We were meeting guests there.
Shit
Yeah.
themselves. They have a heart attack,
Hey,
which is
as
what
a
I would
crew, I
do.
was shitting myself.
So when you get through and clearly you survived it, do you go?
Only just.
Do you go? Are we going back that way?
Yeah, we had to. We
Is
had
there
to go
another
back
way
that
home? Please let there be another way.
But captain at the time made sure that there was definitely 35 feet sitting underneath us.
Yeah.
We were just pushing
God.
like the extreme, and
Jesus.
he was a yacht captain since he was like 14 years of age. He's been on yachts with his own father.
And did
he
he say that was shithouse, or was
He's
that? Like,
never experienced anything like that in his life.
oh God!
The
I
whole
did not
yacht
want to
just
hear it.
went
No.
shut down mode.
Mind you, probably you want that guy at the front of the boat when that happens,
Oh,
because he's got the
totally.
experience. If you've got some person
Yeah.
without that experience
It's like
may
when
not have done
you're on a
that.
plane and the captain walks in and the 20-year-old walks in,
57,
you're like,
yeah.
then this old guy walks through and you're like, I think, fuck.
Yeah, literally.
I want the grey hair.
Very
I want the
ageist,
glasses.
Tony.
Yeah, but this day and age now, when you go on board a super yacht, basically, captain's got his legs up here
And it's
at the
computer.
wheelhouse, and he's just there on his phone like this.
Yeah. What's the thing?
Yeah.
Because you can do everything.
I want
like that,
Captain
right?
I
Lee.
used to drive the yacht. I used to put it all into the system and direct it, and you just turn one wheel a
It's all
slightly
sat
little
nav
bit,
and-
and then that was it.
Yeah, I want Captain Lee.
Yeah, imagine there's probably these old like captains like that's not sailing. You
Yeah.
know, it's like fuck them. You know,
Get
they're,
it,
No,
out.
literally.
they're getting out their
And the-
sextant to work out where to go. And
Turn
it's
the
like-
engine off.
Yeah, exactly. It's like put a sail up, you muppet. So, getting serious for a second. Last month, you made some sort of a personal sort of announcement to the
Yep.
world that you'd been through some things last year.
Yep.
And growing up you grew up in Pridgeon,
Bridgeon
didn't
Beach,
you?
yeah, I have, yeah.
And I like how you said Pridgeon Beach, so because I used to live in the Springs,
Not
and
the spring.
yeah, because I would say I live in Pridgeon, like, oh, whereabouts? I'd be like, in the Spring.
Oh, is it like that, is it?
Hey,
Oh,
there's,
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with
No,
that.
there's really not, but there is that.
You'll get there one
divide.
day, Pete.
No, we won't.
Hey,
not
nowadays,
anymore.
property in there is real expensive.
No kidding.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's.
So really, you are Pridgeon Beach.
Well, no,
You're
we
like
were.
us.
I'm not there anymore. I'm not even going to say where I am now. But that idea of growing up in Pridgeon, growing up at the beach, sun, lifestyle, everything
Yeah.
else, and then was it 12 months ago you find out that you've got a bit of a melanoma scare.
Yeah. So I
walk us through that.
So my father, when I was in grade 1, so what would I have been, like 6 years of age? He was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma underneath his armpit. He was lucky enough to survive that, and he's still here today.
Right.
Annoyingly, he's a pain in the goddamn ass, but I love the guy.
All right.
That's
But,
a good news. So stage 4 is bad, right?
Stage 4 is like probably one of your worst. Like
Yeah.
prepare for the worst kind of thing. You probably the survival rate's very slim, and 20 years ago, probably
Less,
slimmer than
yeah.
what it is today.
yeah.
The technology and everything is amazing today. Growing up, been on the beach, surfing, you name it, spending hours on the beach.
Yeah.
Definitely been sunburnt an abundance of times, particularly through my teenage years where, through my younger years, mum and dad always said and was vigilant with sunscreen and cover up with rash shirts and so forth. I got to 16 to 18 where I was like, nah, stuff you, mum and dad, put on the
Need a tan.
Do
the
my
tanning
own
oil
thing. Yeah.
and stay out there for hours.
Put
or
on the
whatever with
olive
your
oil.
girlfriends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Latan and whatever those things are. Yeah.
Totally. So yeah, definitely got burnt numerous times. And you know what? I look back at it now and say, you silly little girl. Like I should have listened to mum and dad for those years. But luckily, by the time I turned 18, I would get obviously my skin checked every 12 months. I actually ended up getting my first BCC, which is your basal cell carcinoma, on my top of my left breast.
Mhm.
So I had that removed, and that was basically my moment where I was like, holy shit, this is legit. Like, I need to start covering up and taking this seriously. And because I was in the beauty industry doing hairdressing, I was always inside. So I was kind of safe and protected from that. And I always, wore makeup and all the rest of it. So basically, from there on in, I would get 12 monthly checkups and be vigilant with that. And then, 12 months ago, I was diagnosed with stage 1 melanoma. Yeah.
Far out.
So I was lucky to detect it early.
Yeah.
It had only gone into the second layer of my skin, and it was almost approaching the third.
Mhm.
And it did have like tentacles. Basically, it's what they grow.
Yeah.
It's how the melanoma spreads. So I was very lucky to identify
Get it?
that
Yeah.
and get it out.
Yeah.
I had
So
to
they
get.
cut it out.
I had to get 2. The first one was a biopsy, and then I had to go back into a second margin to a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And that wasn't pleasant.
No.
Let
Yeah.
me tell you that.
No.
Isn't
Yeah.
it amazing that something that all you got to do is like the first step is to get your skin checked?
Yeah,
And
it's just to
some
go and
people
stand
don't do
somewhere
it.
and let someone do it for
And
you.
I must admit, like
I'm
I-
good at it.
I had a spot here. This is 5 or 6 years ago now, and it was just a bit itchy. And I went in, and the doctor went, "Yeah, that's coming out.
Yeah.
I don't like the look of that."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay," and I'll reschedule to come back the next day. And he said, "It's only going to be a small cut, might be a stitch or two."
Yeah.
Well, 7 stitches later.
Yeah.
And it was like, he goes, "Do you get your skin checked?" Because I was a mad golfer and my arms are shocking. And I never really thought about it. I thought, I don't want to to go get my skin checked, and it's such a pain in the ass. And I ended up going after that. It shocked me, and I went, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Have to
And
do
it's
it.
so simple to go and do it.
Yeah.
And legitimately will save your life.
And I'm sitting here right now going, fuck, I need to get that done.
You need
'cause
to.
I
Well,
haven't
that's
been.
what you need to
I've
do.
already had 4 BCCs taken out
Oh,
as well.
3 minutes it
Yeah.
takes.
Yep.
It's funny though that not funny's not the right word. It is interesting now that the first thing, and I used to see a doctor when I lived in Brisbane, and I'd go in there and go, oh, I'm just not sure about this. He'd be like, we're getting it out. And
Yep.
it's like, what is it?
Okay.
He's like, we're just taking it out. And I had one here, one on my elbow, one on my face. It's just like, he's just like cutting me up. And it's like, seems extreme.
Yeah.
But it's probably
But
better
see,
than the
now for myself,
options.
I've gone through all of this process and I, have dealt with it. I now go see a dermatologist. I
Yeah.
just go straight up and pay the big bucks.
Yeah.
I have to go see every 6 months,
Yeah.
but now I'm on the course of doing every 12 months like everyone else, like regular.
Yeah.
It's $500.
Yeah.
It's
Best
an
$500
hour
you've
of your
ever spent.
time.
Yeah.
Again, it can literally save your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's frightening though, and you're young as well. That's the thing. So
Yeah.
that kind of
I'm 28.
that kind of news is going to throw you a little bit.
Oh God, yeah.
How do you react to that? I mean, what were you like at the time?
It makes me emotional. I instantly felt guilty because I did it to myself.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's hard.
We're so hard on ourselves with that kind of stuff, aren't we? Because you think that there was an option that you could have done something differently,
Yeah,
and
totally.
a lot of that stuff as well, we don't know. I mean, clearly your father had it as well.
Yeah.
So there could be some, and
Yeah.
they do say with
Well,
melanoma, it can be genetic as
But
well.
also too, you can look at it where we live,
Yeah.
our climate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're sort of encouraged to go out and do all these things.
We go out for a coffee and sit under an umbrella. There's no protection.
No.
No.
There's nothing.
See,
Yeah.
I'm shocking when I drive because I'm bouncing between all the restaurants. I drive with my arm on the window.
Yeah.
And it's got to the stage now where we'll be in the throes of Sunshine
Yeah.
Coast summer, and people go, "Why are you wearing long sleeves?"
Mm.
I'm like, "I'm not. I've had skin cancer cut out of my face, dude.
Yeah,
Like, there was a stage where you put both my arms down, and this was tanned
Darker.
up, and this
Yeah.
wasn't. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah. It's
It's not worth it.
No, it's not.
Turn the
You're
aircon on and wear a long sleeve shirt.
That's why you
I'm
always
okay
see
with
me.
that.
I'm always in long sleeve. A long sleeve shirt only gives you 5% coverage, but it's a little bit that
It's
helps.
5%
Yeah.
more than zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's another world, and didn't mean to make you
That's
cry
okay.
today,
I'm
but
good now.
but I think it's and the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because it is important
100%.
for
It helps
people,
so many
particularly
people. No matter
where
what
we
colour
are.
you
Yeah,
No.
No matter what race, no matter what age,
Yep.
where you've grown up, whether
Yep.
you're from England and you've moved to Australia, that's probably one of the worst. I've got girlfriends that are from England and they're like, oh, I've got a history of some sort of European background. I'm like, yeah.
therefore I don't need
Yeah.
to. Yeah,
I know.
Why are you
What's
cooking
the
yourself? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, and unfortunately, the beauty industry is very much about the look of the tan.
Yeah.
I mean, but there are other options
I can
these days.
I can feel that shifting, but to be
No,
honest
it
with you,
100% is.
Yeah.
So the latest campaign is actually, being your true self, your natural beauty. You should, let that shine.
Yeah.
Don't
whatever that is. Yeah.
whatever that is.
Yeah.
Don't let that go and cover
No.
it up and go and get a suntan. Go and
Yeah.
put fake tan on.
yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I wear fake tan all the time, and
Yeah.
it's like the easiest thing to put on. And everyone always asks me, "Oh, you look really tan." I'm like, "Yeah, I am." Like, why does a ghost under here?
Yeah.
I'll wear my whiteness like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Yep, me too. Pale all the way. Nothing wrong with it.
I clearly play golf too much, so. But it is. I think it's also as you get older, you tend to care a little bit more about
Yeah,
yourself, or
definitely.
you should.
Because you start realizing that you're not invincible.
Absolutely, and it'll take something. Hopefully for everyone, it's not a serious scare like
Yeah.
you had, but there's certainly, I think there's a moment for people where something will drop, like the penny will drop, and be like,
Definitely.
okay, I got to stop doing that, or whatever it may be. So.
And I think, Ash, you're in the public eye now, and
Yeah.
you've got a great story to tell there, and it's amazing.
Definitely.
For me, I think people like yourself can help so many people without even trying very hard. All you got to do is talk about
I
it.
personally have helped people.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like me being in the hairdressing industry too, we touch on that subject of looking for things, like detect things, but
Yeah.
also we can't tell people what they.
You're not a
that it is.
dermatologist,
I'm not a
yeah,
doctor.
yeah,
But you can
exactly.
say you
But
should
we
go
say,
get that
hey,
checked
this
out.
doesn't look right. This
Yeah.
wasn't here like 6 to 8 weeks ago, or I've known you for 10 years. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I've noticed this the past few sessions
Yeah.
we've done your hair.
Yeah.
Coming from me, I think you should go and get that looked at. I've had 2 or 3 people say, thank you so much. I've had melanoma in
Yeah.
my scalp. Or,
Wow.
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
It's funny, not funny, but I remember there was someone on TV. I can't remember where this was. It was only a couple of years ago, I think, and it might have been during COVID, I think, or someone was doing a podcast or something, and someone was like, "There's something on your neck." Someone actually,
Yes, I
do you remember?
hearing that
Someone's like,
one.
"There's something on your neck's not quite right."
Yeah.
And if he hadn't have gone like within a window of a really short period of time, he would have been dead.
Yeah.
But the fact that someone was like, something's not okay about
I
that,
can't remember who it was,
I don't
but I
know
do
either,
remember.
but it definitely
I
happened.
remember
That was
that.
the thing.
Yes, it did, yeah.
And the fact that there was someone out there that took a second to actually say something as
Yeah.
well. I think that's the difference. But moving on, what's next?
What's next?
Yeah.
Well, I have some exciting news.
Do you?
I am launching my weekend breakfast radio show with CFM.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
CFM.
Yeah.
CFM.
CFM.
On your own?
No, I've got my own co-host. So,
Right.
his name is Tim.
Yep.
He is originally from Melbourne. He was working alongside Chrissy Swan in Nova.
Yep.
Now he's coming to the coast.
How
and hanging out
exciting.
with me.
So he's moving up. He's moving up here.
No,
or-
he already lives here. He
Oh,
lives in
great.
Noosa.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
we'll have
Him
a
and his
second.
partner. His partner actually manages Lanai.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Great spot.
Yeah, awesome spot up there at the
I don't know
river.
what that is.
Thomas
Restaurant.
Corner.
Oh, okay, right. There, that is a great spot.
Yeah.
Awesome
Well, in terms of
spot.
location's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah,
So,
location's
yeah,
awesome.
right.
But yeah,
Okay, cool.
That's exciting. When's it like kick off?
15th of June, so in a couple of weeks' time.
Super
Okay, so
excited.
this will probably be, you would have started by the time we release
Yeah,
this
we've
episode. So
started- yep.
everyone hopefully is already listening to you every weekend and
Hopefully.
pumping up the ratings and everything else. So
Absolutely.
and what's the show? Is it what is? Can you tell us about it? Or?
So basically, we want to keep it local, but also be a little bit alternative and kind of be like a level up of like luxury kind of side of things. Talking about taboo topics. We want to kind of, I guess, capture all audiences. Yeah.
What's a taboo topic?
I don't know, like your confessions.
Oh.
You got anything to confess
Not
to?
today, no. Absolutely not.
No, we want to
You
create
need a
things.
bottle of gin for that.
Clearly not. Yeah, clearly not a Catholic.
We want to create things like an environment where it's fun and it can like bring everyone all in as an audience. So like, for example, for that confession subject, we want to kind of put a subject on it where like, you know, what happened last night on Saturday night? Because we are a weekend radio.
Mm-hmm.
What happened last night on Saturday night? What did the alcohol do to you, kind of thing?
Mhm.
Fell in a bush, or you vomited, or you've done something stupid that you
Part of
regret.
Ocean Street did you punch?
Yeah, let us know what happened, but it's all anonymous.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's cool.
we want to create a bit of fun.
Okay,
Yeah.
I might need to change my voice. That's so. Is that the plan to do more of that? Do you want to get into?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't know. I think in life for me, each step I've kind of faked it till I've made it kind
Yep.
of thing. And I've just taken kind of every opportunity that I can and just, I guess, grabbed it by the balls and took
Yep.
control,
Had a crack,
basically.
yeah.
Gave it a good crack.
Yeah.
Like,
They haven't
Yeah.
coerced you into doing Below Deck Australia?
no. I've spoken
That was a
to I've
very
spoken
quick
to
reaction to
producers.
that.
Yeah.
I've spoken to producers, but basically, getting back to the show again, they have a timeline. They have their characters.
Yeah.
They have their people. They have their storylines, basically. Whoever they match up
Yeah.
as cast. So obviously, I just don't fit in there. So
Yeah, right.
Would you?
Which I think it's silly because they should have brought me back.
Would you
Yeah,
do it?
should've.
You would do it?
Oh, 100%.
Would you
and
really?
they know that. They know that I would be there with bells on, basically. And I even have said to a producer before, like, if you want me on the show, I'll be there and I'll shit stir the whole way. If you really want that.
Yeah. Very different
Ling Ling
world.
2.0 will be coming back.
Very different world in Australia compared to where you've
Totally
worked
different.
Yeah.
from a yachting perspective.
Totally
like
different.
very different, right?
Very chilled here.
Right.
There's like
Okay.
no 7-star. I would
No.
say maybe 5.
Okay. And money not as good, I would
Money
imagine.
not as good.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you're kind of, I guess, Australian industry standards
Yeah.
back again. I don't know if there's really any tipping going on. There might be certain guests that might come on board and tip, but
Yeah.
generally
Yeah.
it's just basic average wage, which
And
is
there's not-
unfortunate. But
They're not really long charters here, from what I
no,
understand as well.
it
They're
might be like
generally-
a night.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
1 nights and 2 nights.
Did,
that kind
did you
of
see when the captain that was doing the Australian version of Below Deck, he sailed a boat to Cairns and he lost basically the brakes and ploughed into the.
Sorry, the
Yeah.
brakes. It's a boat.
Yeah, well, you know, the thrusters and he was.
I don't know a lot about boats, but I'm pretty
not-
sure there's no
I'm not
brake.
suggesting there's a handbrake.
Yeah,
It's probably just a button.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Go
and he
the other
crashed
way.
right next to Prawn Star in the Cairns
did.
Harbour.
Yes.
This
Really?
multi-million-dollar boat, and it's like this fucking thing's coming our way, and just
Straight into it.
straight into it.
Just annihilated it all.
Yeah.
Because they've had some luck, haven't they? Didn't the one here sink?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. No, they didn't hit the prawn stubber. It was
Ah.
literally getting moored right next to it.
Okay, right.
But this massive super yacht plowed into the marina. Was that boat the one that was on the show?
No.
I wonder. Far out.
No, it was another one. But yeah.
Because when I watched the Below Deck Australian show, I was looking, look, I know this guy. And then they cut to the next bit of it, and it was like
He was the
all
captain
over
of
the
the
news.
crash.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you would do it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Would you go back and work in yachts full time?
I have thought about that numerous times, guys. Like so many times.
What's stopping you?
I don't know. It sounds really stupid. I'm 28. I'm almost 29, and I'm like, do I go back to the industry? It's pretty hardcore. Or am I ready to kind of find someone to settle down?
Yep.
Yeah. Sink your roots into the,
I have it
radio
pretty bloody
station.
good here on the Sunshine Coast, let me tell you that. I've got, all my friends, I've got my
Your
family,
network's here, yeah.
my whole network is
Yeah.
here basically, yeah. Yep.
It's definitely a young person's job, but isn't it?
I
When I
would
say
think
young
so.
person, you're young, but I
would
mean,
say,
it's hard.
Yeah, 21 to say like 27 for a female. I mean, everyone's different and has
Yeah.
their own pathways to life.
Yeah.
But for, just a general female, that's probably a good sweet spot where you can get in, save your money, spend a little bit, party a little, but, kind of head down, bum up and knuckle in and save
Because
your
it'd
money.
be hard because you get addicted to that money and your spending habits reflect it. And then suddenly you're in this
That's not bad.
whirlwind and you work your ass off, earn a bunch of money, come back with not too much. And then you realise you've got to do it all again. It's like the mining industry, I
Yeah,
reckon.
it kind of
It's
gets you
probably
hooked.
exactly the same as
And
the
if you're
mining
not
industry.
careful, you're 40 and,
Single and you don't have money.
and you see
Or-
some of these
You
people.
got a HSV.
You see, yeah, and a jet ski. But you look at this and then
Yeah.
you see a lot of lonely people that have got all these toys, but they sit back and they go, what the fuck do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Definitely. And a lot of people in this industry are like that
Yeah.
too. Like I've met girls that have been in the industry for 9 years and they're like, oh, this year I'm going to save. And I'm like, pardon, what?
Mm.
You're going to save this year? I'm
No,
like,
you're
what
not.
do you mean? They've got like Hermes handbags,
Yeah.
Rolex watches, Cartier dripping off them. And they've got it all and they're immaculate and they're beautiful. And they do have it all. But then they say they're going to save this year. I'm like, you're like 35.
Yeah,
why,
we've got 500 bucks in the bank.
why have you got all this, basically it's just materialistic stuff in front of you.
Trinkets, yeah.
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 But nothing in the bank to show.
No. Sad.
It is sad, but that's the nature of, I suppose, humans.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
We like things and
We
stuff.
get trapped into the vortex of that lifestyle.
And that's the thing, is like you said, then you just all of a sudden you're like 10 years later, you're like, where am I?
Yeah, pretty much.
What am I doing and why am I here and those kind of things. And I think that, again, looking from an outsider looking in, the yachting industry can be quite lonely.
Definitely.
Even
Very
though you're in a confined space with
No,
people,
you
quite
are.
literally, but
you are.
you can
You're
be.
literally going into this industry by yourself. You're with a crew, with your teammates, but it's you.
Yeah.
And you only. That's it. Yeah.
Is there one, like, lesson that mightn't be the right way to say it, but is there something that you learnt from that industry that you're just it's gonna be your thing for the rest of your life? You're gonna remember that. You're gonna remember that. Is it the work ethic thing? I mean, it sounds like you had that anyway before you went.
I think it gave me more of a polished me and gave me a clear view of who I am and with that work ethic and the directions that I make. The yes nos. Like I know myself, some of your questions that you messaged me on, what's your success to life or what are your situations that you've been in, your make it or break it. I think that has the yachting industry has directed me
It
to
shaped
those.
you, yeah.
Because I would just say yes to everything instead of no, or stop and think and go, oh, hang on, let me get back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Give me a minute.
that
yeah.
industry has been like straight down the pipeline. Yes, no, what do you want?
Right.
And I just take it whichever way, yes
Yeah.
or no,
And go with it.
and
yeah.
go with it. Yeah.
Good advice there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Thank you, Ashling. Really
Thanks
appreciate
so
you
much
coming
for having
on.
me.
Great
Thank
chat.
you for coming in. Absolutely. We look forward to seeing you in your
Can't wait
new
to hear you on
role,
the radio.
on the
Yeah,
radio.
I'm
how exciting.
excited.
That's cool.
Thanks so
And-
much, guys.
And we might see you on a boat another time soon.
Hey, you never know.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Well done.
Thanks.